Today we're going to briefly talk about memory using Lagrima by Tarrega as an example piece. Now there are two sections in Lagrima which particularly throw students. The first in the major section, and the second in the minor section. There are many ways in which a musician can memorise a piece, but I'm going to talk about 7 of the most powerful ways and techniques to use. The first tool we can utilise to memorise music is to break it down and understand the components of the section you're trying to memorise. So in this example, it's polyphonic music, so we have to break down each individual line to understand what's going on in the whole. So here is just the top line. Notice that I'm using the same fingering that I would do in the rest of the piece. And here's the middle line. And here is the bass line, using again the same fingering. A good way to put this back together is to only use 2 of the 3 voices. So for example, here is the bass line and the melody line together. Here's the bass line and the middle line. And here is the melody line and the middle line. This helps us to know where we're going with each individual movement we make. Talking about the movements we make takes us on to the second point, and this is understanding the physicality of the section. Memorising the physicality of the section is almost like, say, making sure that we don't cut our fingers when we're cutting carrots. You do each individual bit slowly, and when we get more used to it, we then go faster. The third technique is utilising our numerical memory. So in this instance in music, we're talking about the fingering that we're going to use. For this example, we remember that we're starting with finger 4 on the 12th fret, and then we're reaching back and using finger 1 on the 7th fret. Now some of you may be really poor, like I am, at remembering dates and times, so this technique might not be useful for you. Remember that everyone's going to be different, and everyone's going to be better at some memory techniques than others. So if you're not good at the numerical technique, perhaps the visual technique is for you. A good way of using the visual technique is to try and memorise what the actual shape of the music looks like. So in this example, in the major section of Lagrima, we notice that the melody slowly goes down from that top E in a scale fashion. The reason why I mention it goes down in a scale fashion is because it takes us onto the next form of memory, which is form. Now we know in this section of the music, we're in E major. So when we go down in a scale starting from E, we know that the notes will be E, D sharp, C sharp, and B. The 6th type of technique we're going to talk about with memory is often called muscle memory. Now this is a bit of a double-edged sword, because although you'll gain muscle memory as you just play the piece over and over, just through repetition, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because you can easily memorise mistakes. It's very difficult to undo those mistakes when you've spotted them or your teacher spotted them, and it can be a little bit fickle. So when you're under pressure and your muscle memory fails you and you don't have any other form of memory to rely on, it can completely make you mind blank in a section. The final type of memory is actually quite a nice one, because this is an oral memory. Now you can memorise things just by listening to them. If you sort of recall your favourite song, Bohemian Rhapsody for example, that you'll probably be able to remember most of that song. Now if you listen to your piece that you're playing enough, then you'll notice when things are wrong when you're playing, and you'll also be able to recall it just orally. Now a really good way of increasing the power of your oral memory is by singing each individual line. So I hope you've enjoyed this memory breakdown. Tell me in the comments which type of memory you're best at, and share this with friends who might be having trouble memorising pieces.